Hello, hello, hello. I am the Linux Mensch, MX Linux. In July, they put out a new release, a new ISO, and I did a video on it, and I went through the whole installation with it encrypted, and I did some post installation changes. And then at the end of the video, I said I was going to make another video with more post-installation changes, and I never got around to it. So today I'm going to do it. So today I'm not going to go through an installation, but I'm not going to go back into that install. I have a brand new installation in a virtual machine that I haven't touched yet. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the few post installations I made the last time, and I'm going to do more post installation changes. So let's get to it. So like I said, this is a brand new installation of MX Linux, not the one I used a week and a half ago when I did my last video, and I haven't done anything to it yet. So the first thing I'm going to do is fix the display. And you only have to do this because this is a virtual machine. So I'm going to go to 1360 by 768. And I'm going to apply it. And I'm going to keep the configuration and I'm going to close it. The next thing I'm going to do is, because this box is green, it's showing there's updates to do, and it says there's 20 new updates to do. Well, I'm not going to go into the package manager to do the updates. I'm going to go into the terminal. So I'm going to click this on. I'm going to go into the Xfce terminal. And before I even do the updates, by default, now some of these first things I'm showing, I already did in my video a week and a half ago. So if you bear with me, I'm going to do them again. And of course, I'm going to do more post-installation changes than I did last time. And there's going to be timestamps in my video in case you want to skip some of these first steps and just look at things that interest you. So by default, the Xfce terminal in MX Linux has bleed through, or it's called transparency, and I can't stand it. I don't want to see the wallpaper behind me. If I have a web browser open like Firefox and I need to go into the terminal to do something, I don't want to see Firefox bleeding through from behind. So I can't stand it. And it's also, I think the font is too small. Now, luckily for the Xfce terminal, it's easy to configure. So I'm going to do that before I do my update. And this part I did in the last video. I'm going to go in, so you right click, just right click anywhere, go into preferences, go into appearance, transparency. Look how high they have it set by default. So you can move this button up or down to change the transparency. So, oh, look at that. Can you believe that? We're in a terminal. This is terrible. I can't stand this. Or you can just click on this button, this pull down menu, and you can change it to background image or none. Use solid color. And that's the one I want. None. I don't want any transparency. Use solid color. And close it. Wow, isn't that better? Oh, I shouldn't have gone out of there. I want to go back in there and to appearance. And I'm going to change the font. And I can keep it on the same style of font. I don't care about that. But I'm going to make it bold. And I'm going to kick it up a couple notches. And you know what? I'm going to kick it up a couple notches even more. Let's go to 20. Oops. There you go. How's that? So there's no more bleed through and the font is easy to read. And especially I want it to be seen on the video. So I'm going to type in sudo apt update, put my password in, and it's updating. And of course, well, we have to go through another step. And it's just going to list all the things that need to be updated. And I don't know why it's saying failed to fetch some of the mirrors. Okay, so when I was trying to do the update in the terminal, I got an error message saying there was a problem reaching one of the mirrors. But then I shut off the terminal, which means it stopped doing the update, and the update's not done. Now, if this was Arch Linux, I would have just gone into the terminal. I know exactly where the mirrors are in the terminal, and I would have selected another mirror. Bang, bang, bang. Would have been done right away. But I'm not as familiar with Debian, and this is MX Linux based on Debian, and I'm less familiar with MX Linux because I never lived in MX Linux. So it took me, I had to pause the video. It took me a little while to figure out where in MX Linux to go and change the mirrors. So what you're going to do is click on this start menu, and we're going to type in Repo Manager right here. It's MX Linux Repo Manager. It's going to ask for the password. And you see the mirror that's on here that's automatically clicked on by default. I didn't click it on. That happened during the install. It's mirrors period RIT education. So it's a university mirror from Rochester, New York in the United States. But the message I was getting in the terminal that it was having trouble contacting that mirror. So let's see if there's a mirror in Canada, because I'm in Canada. I'm going to click on Canada Waterloo. And I forgot to unclick that other one. Or does it? Oh, it automatically unclicked it. Okay, that's good. See, that's another thing too. It only allows you to have one mirror. That's kind of ridiculous. So in Arch Linux, when I go into the mirror file in the terminal, you can have as many mirrors as you want. And the mirror that you want to be first, you put at the top of the file, and then you can put your second, third, fourth, or fifth choice. So if it's having trouble contacting the first mirror, it's going to go down to the second mirror automatically. Hey, but that's Arch Linux. This is MX Linux based on Debian. Anyway, so this is only going to allow me to click on one mirror, but that's okay. And I'm going to go back into the terminal and do it again. So I picked a mirror in Canada because I'm in Canada, and it's at the University of Waterloo, which is not too far from where I live. So I'm going to click apply. Your selection will take effect the next time sources are updated. Okay. And let's close it. Now I'm going to go back into the terminal and see if this works. So let's do sudo apt update. And we can see when it's preparing the update, we can see if it's changed mirrors. Oh, it's going to ask for my password. And it has. See, now it's collecting information from the University of Waterloo. How about that? So there's 21 packages that can be upgraded. So I'm going to do sudo apt upgrade. And it's starting, and I'm going to hit enter. And while it's updating, I'm going to pause the video, and I'll be back. And I'm back. That didn't even take 5 minutes. I think it only took a minute and a half or two. But I had the video pause longer because I went to get a drink. So it finished doing the update, and I'm not going to reboot because I double checked and there was no kernel updates in this update. So I'm going to close the terminal, and we can see the green box is gone. No updates available. My system is up to date. So like I said, the first few things I show you, I did in my last video, but then I'm going to show a lot more of post-installation changes. So the first thing I'm going to do is move this panel to the side. I can't stand it. So I'm going to do type in mx tweak. I'm going to make it should make it full screen. Okay. So what I'm going to do is click on right here where it says panel. It's clicked on by default to display the panel vertically. So I'm going to click on horizontally, and it's on the bottom, and that's where I want it. But if you like it at the top, you could switch it to the top, just like that. But I'm going to put it on the bottom, and then you have to hit apply. And I'm just going to close it now. And now it's at the bottom where I like the panel to be. Now this Conky gives you some information here. Some people like the Conky and some people don't. So you could just Conky, toggle it off, or you can toggle it on. I really don't like the Conky, but I'm going to leave it on for the sake of the video. Now, also what I did in my last video, and I'm going to do again, I went into the package manager, put my password in, and I installed. And I'm just going to go through this really quickly. I'm not going to give you a tour of the package manager because I did that last time. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to install the Brave browser and Librewolf browser, which is a hardened fork of Firefox. And the last time, in the last video, I also went and installed only Office. Now, by default, LibreOffice is already installed by default, but I went and installed only Office, but it didn't work. When I was going through the installation in the last video, there was a problem with installing it, and I don't know why. So this time I'm just going to install Brave browser and Librewolf, and you can see Firefox is blue and it's ticked off because it's already installed by default. So I'm going to hit the install button, and you can't see that because my face is blocking it. There. So now I'm going to hit the install button, and I'm going to hit enter, and I'm just going to go through this install very quickly. And it's done. And that didn't really take too long. It only took a minute, maybe a minute and a half. So I'm going to close this, and let's see if they work. Let's go into the menu. Let's go here to Internet. Let's click on the Brave browser. And there we have it. The Brave browser. And let's go back to Internet. Let's click on Librewolf. And now we have Librewolf, the hardened fork of Firefox. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into a terminal, the Xfce terminal, and I'm going to install some stuff in the terminal. Let's see, I'm going to install sudo apt awesome. I'm going to install the awesome window manager. I'm going to install xterm because that's my favorite terminal. I'm going to install zshrc because by default MX Linux is using the bash shell, and I love the zshrc shell. That's my favorite shell. So I'm going to install zshrc, and I'm going to install zshrc syntax highlighting. And I think I'm missing a few more things that I want to install, but I can't think of them now. So if they come into my mind, I'll install them after the fact. Let's do these for now. Let's put my password in. And I forgot to type in install. How about that? Let's try that again. And it's installing the packages. And I'm just going to pause the video. And actually, it looks like it's going really fast. Wow. I wasn't expecting it to go that fast. I didn't have to pause the video. I think it's a lot faster there and easier than using the package manager. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here and log out. And I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to go into the awesome window manager. Put my password in. So of course, this is the awesome window manager by default. It doesn't have my configuration in it yet. And I'm going to right click on anywhere, and I'm going to click on terminal. I don't know if you can see that it's kind of small. Open terminal. So it's opening the Xfce terminal. And what I'm going to do is I am going to install my Gitlab configuration files. So I presume Git is already installed. I don't remember if it's installed by default or not, but I didn't install it, so let's find out. So this is the command you want to type in to download my GitLab repository. And if it's too hard for you to remember or too hard for you to type in, this command is in the show notes of every video. So you can just go to one of my videos, go into the show notes and copy and paste it into here. And right now we're not in Xterm. This is the Xfce terminal, which is very user friendly, and you can copy and paste with your mouse like you would in any other program. So anyways, let's hit enter. And it just downloaded my GitLab repository. Let's cd, let's clear the screen. Let's cd into mensch, ls, like that. So I have 3 folders here. You can see I have an Arch folder, a Debian folder, and a FreeBSD folder. Oh yes, and I remember an app that I forgot to install. So I'm going to do sudo apt install PCmanFM. That's my favorite file manager. I'm going to put my password in, and I'm going to install that. And it's going to be really fast. And it's done. So let's close the screen. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down the mod key and hit the P. I'm going to type in PCmanFM. I know you can't see that, and because it's small. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into this mensch folder that we just downloaded from my GitLab repository. And I'm going to open it. And I'm going to open the Debian folder. So you see I have 3 folders in there, Arch, Debian, FreeBSD. I'm going to open the Debian folder. And I'm going to click on this awesome folder, and I'm going to copy it to my home folder. And I'm going to click on show hidden. And I'm going to click on config right here, the config folder. And I'm going to paste it in. Then I'm going to close this. And now I'm going to go and click on restart. I know you probably can't see that, but I'm right clicking it, top, awesome, and right down here, restart. Probably hard to see because it's kind of small. There we are. Now we have awesome window manager with my configuration file. So let's click on here. You could click it on. Let's go to PCmanFM. And we can hide the files that we don't need to see. And there we are. So now I'm going to show, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the mensch folder. And I'm going to go back to Debian. And I'm going to show hidden. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the control key down. Highlight those 4 files. And I'm going to copy them to my home folder. And I'm going to paste them in. Then I'm going to close this. And I'm going to log out. I'm going to quit the awesome. And I'm going to put my password in and go back in. Now I'm going to go back into Xterm. And now the font is fixed and it's better. Let's click on zsh and see if it's working. And there's zsh. We can see my zsh is not work. It's now working. And the font is better and the color is better. Now, if I go into root, put my password in, and type in zsh, we don't have zsh in root. So I'm going to close the terminal. I'm going to go back into Xterm. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do it this way. I don't normally do it this way, but for the sake of ease, I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to do sudo PCmanFM. Put my password in, and I'm going to make this full screen. And I'm just going to go here to places, directory tree, and I'm going to open up mensch. I'm going to show hidden files. Oops. I'm going to go into Debian, and I'm just going to copy these 2. The zsh history and it's zshrc. And I'm going to copy them. And I'm going to go up to root. And I'm going to paste them in here. Then I'm going to close this. And I'm going to close the terminal. I'm going to go into cd, into Xfce, ls it. And see this Vim folder here? I'm going to go into there, cd into Vim, ls it. And this vimrc, I want to go into this vimrc. Sudo vimrc. Just like that. I'm going to hit enter and put my password in. And I'm going to scan down. Somewhere down here. I guess it doesn't really matter where. Let's just do it here. I'm just going to make some space. You don't have to. I just do it for cosmetic reasons. And I'm going to type in set nu and set space rnu. And I'm going to save the file. And I'm going to clear the screen. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do something, but I want to make sure before I do it that my zesh is working for my user and my root. Okay, so I'm going to open a terminal. And right now we're in bash. So I'm just going to type in zesh. Oh, and I can see zesh is working for my user. Now I'm going to type in, I'm going to switch to root. I'm going to put my password in. And now I'm in root, but I'm in bash. So I'm going to clear the screen. And I'm going to type in zesh. And now we can see that zesh is working for my root. So I'm going to go and make zesh my default shell. Because right now bash is the default shell. So I'm going to make zesh the default shell, but I want to make sure it's working for my user and for root before I make it the default shell. Because if it's not working properly and you make it your default shell, you're going to have trouble. So it is working. So now I'm going to go into, let's just close, I'm going to close the, so I'm going to go back and open the terminal. And I'm going to make that large screen. And I'm going to type in sudo vim Xfce password without the O and without the R. And I'm going to go in here. I'm going to put my password in. And that's a bit large. I'm going to make that a bit smaller. No. Okay, let's leave it at large. So when you go into this file, you have to be very, very careful, because if you mess up this file, you may not be able to log into your system. Your password may not work, and even root password may not work, and you may not be able to get into your system, and you might have to do a rescue, which is too complicated for me to explain in this video, but there is a way to rescue it. But what I'm saying is, when you're in this file, you should be very careful. And in most of my videos, I go into this file, but I hardly ever warn people that they have to be very careful, because I've been in this file and I've messed it up. And then I had trouble getting into my system and I had to do a whole repair. So what you're going to do is go to the end. And I'm going to change root's default shell from bash to zesh. And then I'm going to go to where mensch is. And there's mensch. And I'm going to go to the end of the line. And I'm going to change mensch's shell to zesh. And then I'm going to save the file. And I'm going to close out of here. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just reboot. I'm going to quit. Well, let's see if going out of here fixes it. I might have to reboot. I'm not sure. And let's open up my xterm. And now zsh is my default shell. So I didn't have to reboot. I just have to log out and back in. So zsh is now my default shell. And let's make it a little larger. And let's go into root and see if that's the default shell. Let's type in the password for root. And now zsh is the default shell for root. So let's close the screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the mod key down and hit the P. I'm going to type in power. And I'm going to go in here. And I'm going to go to display. And I'm turning off the power manager because I don't like my screen shutting off. And I don't like my computer going to sleep. And I'm going to close it. If we look here, I don't have Brave browser and Librewolf in here. I'm going to go into Xterm and make it a little larger. Now, if you installed my configuration files, and if you're using my zsh configuration file, this is going to work. You're going to type in config. This is only going to work if you're using my zsh configuration file. Otherwise, you're going to have to go into cd.config awesome. You're going to have to enter that. You're going to have to ls it. And you're going to have to vim into this rc folder. Not the theme one, but just the rc one. But if you're used, so you would do vim rc lua once you're in all those folders. But if you're using my zsh configuration file, you can just type in config. It's going to take you in there. Now that's a bit big. Let's make it smaller. So I'm going to go down to where I have Firefox. So I'm going to hit the Y twice to copy it into the clipboard. Y. And I'm going to hit the P to paste it in. So we've duplicated the Firefox. I'm going to delete Firefox. And this first part is just a title for the menu. And I'm going to type in Brave Wolf. So that first part is a title. And then I'm going to go to the second part. And this second part is the actual command that's going to open up the app. So I'm going to delete this Firefox. And I'm going to type in Librewolf. Now, if this second part isn't typed properly with small letters or capital letters or dashes or whatever, it won't open up the program. But the first part here, this first part, doesn't matter whether it's typed right or not. This is just a title that's going to show up in your menu. But the second part has to be typed right because that's the command that's actually going to open up the app. So we put Librewolf into the menu. Now Brave is already in the menu, but it's deactivated. So in a lot of configuration files, the hashtag or the number sign key deactivates the file. But in the Awesome Window Manager, it's not the hashtag or the number sign key. It's 2 dashes. So when you're in the Awesome Window configuration file, anything that has 2 dashes in front of it means the line is deactivated. So I have Brave in here, and I'm going to activate the line by taking these 2 dashes out. So now I've activated the line. But there's another thing we have to do. In Arch Linux, when you install Brave from the AUR, to open up Brave, you only need the word Brave. But in MX Linux, you have to have Brave-browser. Why? I don't know. So we're going to go over here. And like I said before, when I put the Librewolf in, if you don't have the lettering exactly right, it won't open up the app. So we're going to put a dash in here. I'm going to type in browser. And I'm going to save the file. I'm going to close the terminal. And I'm going to right click and I'm going to restart. Awesome. Now we're going to open it up, and here we have Brave there. So let's click it on and see if it opens. And there it is. We have the Brave browser inside the awesome window manager. And let's see if Librewolf opens up. Here it is here, Librewolf, right under Firefox where I put it. Let's click that on. And there we have it. We have Librewolf, the hardened fork of Firefox inside the awesome window manager. So let's just quit out of here. Let's click on here and let's restart. I'm going to restart it. And I don't think I'm going to pause it because I noticed this MX Linux is starting pretty quick. And I encrypted the system, so it's going to take me to the, it's going to ask me to put in my encryption password first. And here it is. We're at the encryption stage, and I got to type in the password, hit enter. And it's just decrypting the system or opening it up. And it's going to take me to the login manager. And if I put my password in, we're going to immediately go into the awesome window manager because that's the last one we were in. So it's always going to remember the last one you were in, whether the awesome or your Xfce desktop. So I'm going to put my password in and go enter. And I'm going to hit, let's just open up Htop this way. Here's Htop. Anyways, so we're running at 271 megabytes of RAM out of 4 gigabytes. So that's pretty good. So I'm going to close this. I'm going to quit out of here. I'm going to go back into the Xfce desktop. I'm going to put my password in. And I'm going to close that. And here we are. We're back in the Xfce. Let's just type it in. Htop. So the Xfce desktop runs on less RAM than GNOME or Cinnamon. And probably out of all the desktop environments, it's the lowest as far as RAM goes. But because MX Linux is based on Debian, it runs a little higher. So if I was running the Xfce desktop in Arch Linux, it would probably be around 450 to 525 megabytes of RAM. And here it's at 680. So that's MX Linux and the changes that I would make if I was going to live in it. But I use Arch, by the way. That was a look at a fresh, brand new installation of MX Linux and all the changes I would make to it if I were going to live in it. And some of the changes I did in the previous video on MX Linux, but in this video I did a lot more changes. So I hope you learned something today, and if you enjoyed the video, please like it and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching. I am the Linux Mensch.